My wife and I have just finished building this backyard office ourselves, and today we're going to be covering a very important step, connecting high-speed fiber internet. We'll explore some of the options that were available to us before getting into the details on the products we used and the amount we spent. We're also going to look inside of some of the components of a home network, using VFX and animations to help explore their basic functionality. As always, I'm aiming to give you as much information as possible, so you can recreate this project, or at least take some ideas for your own. The final result will be a wired gigabit connection available at both of the workstations in this office. So let's get started and take a look at how we can integrate into our existing home network. Over at the house, we are fortunate to have a gigabit fiber connection with our internet service provider. This feed enters our home through the crawl space and runs to the center of the house, where I have a media closet set up. The fiber comes up through the back wall of that closet and plugs into the first device, the Fiber Optical Network Terminal, or ONT box, which is property of our ISP. This box takes the light signals that are transmitting over the fiber line and converts them into electrical signals, which can be sent through the copper wires of an Ethernet cable. The next device is an Ethernet gateway, which is also property of our ISP. It has two functions. The first is converting the analog signal that it's receiving from the ONT box into a digital signal, which is what our phones and our computers will use. It also acts as a router, which is what allows multiple devices to simultaneously access the internet. For my new office out in the backyard, I'll need to find a way to get access to this gateway. It provides Wi-Fi, but the signal is going to be way too weak to reach a separate building. Let's consider a few different solutions to bridge the gap. The first is a Wi-Fi extender. This device simply takes the Wi-Fi signals it's hearing from the gateway and repeats them so devices that are further away have a chance to pick them up and communicate back. The downside is we'll see a pretty big reduction in our internet speed. We're adding a middleman, and the time it takes this device to listen and then retransmit will result in a noticeable speed decrease. The next option is what's called a point-to-point wireless bridge, which is pretty common in a situation like ours where you have two separate buildings. Instead of boosting the strength of our existing network, we would create a separate network out in the office. This new network communicates with the house using a pair of specialized antennas that transmit a focused signal back and forth between the two buildings. This does require a line of sight, but it results in a more robust connection than the extender. While it is an improvement, it still isn't the fastest solution that we have available. And it can also be affected by bad weather. A wired connection avoids all of this. If you're already running underground power, why not just take advantage of the opportunity and run a direct Ethernet wire out to the new building? But there's one issue. We don't want to run an Ethernet line right next to a 240 volt power line. When electricity is flowing through a wire, it produces a magnetic field which can induce currents in nearby wires. This is called electromagnetic interference, and it has the potential to corrupt data. This usually isn't a concern when you only have low voltage wires, which is why it's typical to see multiple Ethernet lines placed right next to one another. But it's definitely something you'll want to plan for whenever you're dealing with 120 volts or higher. This effect is diminished as the distance between the wires increases. For that reason, we have the Ethernet in our office walls running 12 inches above the 120 volt lines. But it's going to be difficult to create enough space between the wires in that trench. So what about fiber? Like we said earlier, these cables use light, not electricity, to transmit data. We'll be immune to the interference produced by our power cables, and we can use the same trench that we already plan on digging. Fiber will also allow us to take full advantage of the high-speed internet available to us. It provides a much higher bandwidth than copper, so my wife and I will both be able to make the most of the wired connection at each of our computers without slowing each other down. This new line will run from the gateway out to the office where it will connect to an access point. Now that we've decided on the overall plan, let's get into the specifics on the products that we intend to use.
Hey, could you help me with the project in the kitchen quick?
Yeah, we can do that quick.
We're very excited to finish the backyard office, but it's also important to prioritize the simple projects that can have a lasting effect on your health. Let's take a quick break to install this reverse osmosis system from today's sponsor, Waterdrop. The G3P 800 connects easily to our existing plumbing and purifies our drinking water. It uses 10 different stages of filtration to remove PFAs, fluoride, lead, and other potentially harmful substances. Waterdrop provides a tool on their website where you can enter a zip code to learn more about contaminants detected in your tap water. We'll link this tool in our description if you'd like to learn more about the importance of purifying your water.
We start by drilling a 1-inch hole in the countertop where we'd like to add our new drinking faucet. Right below this, we'll have our UV sterilizer. This device kills bacteria and microorganisms that might be present in the water. Next, I'm installing this water line adapter, which connects up to our sink supply. You just want to make sure you shut off the water first and let the faucet drain any remaining water. For the filter's drain line, I'm adding this small connection to our existing sink drain pipe. Now we're ready to connect all of these components to the main device. It's all very straightforward, with everything pre-labeled and some lines drawn to help indicate when your tubes are fully seated. We then have the cables connecting the faucet and the UV sterilizer. The device has 3 different filters that are easy to access from the front of the unit. This tankless design is very compact and fits nicely under our sink.
We're really happy with this product. The faucet provides information on water quality as well as the status for each filter. If you're interested in one for your own home, we'll have a discount link in our description. Now let's get back to the details of our office network.
Starting back at the media closet in the house, I'm going to connect a device to our gateway via Ethernet, called a media converter. Just like it sounds, this device is going to translate the electrical signals into light signals for fiber. The device has what's called an SFP slot, which is where we're going to make our fiber connection. When you select the type of fiber that you want to use, which we'll get into the different types here in a second, you'll need to get an SFP module that is compatible with that cable. It sounds complicated, but this module is just a practical way to make one media converter work with multiple different types of cable. When you're selecting fiber, there's 2 main choices to pick between. There's multi-mode and single mode. Multi-mode has a thicker core and is designed to carry multiple streams of data at the same time. It used to be less expensive than single mode fiber, but it has a slower transmission speed and can't be run for long distances. Single mode has a much smaller core, allowing the signal to travel further and faster. The price between the two has become so close recently that it's a pretty easy decision to go with the single mode. This is also allowing me to future-proof the setup because the single mode cable can go up to 40 gigabits per second. I'll just have to update the media converter later to upgrade to the faster speeds. The cable I'm using is an OS2 LC to LC. LC stands for Lucent Connector, and it's the name of this type of termination that's at the end of our cable. It's nicknamed the Little Connector, and this is primarily why I picked it. It'll be much easier to eventually pull this through the conduit during install. Going back to the SFP module, now that we know what cable we're using, we can select the right adapter that's compatible with it. This one matches the LC connector and it's rated for gigabit speed. This part, along with every other product you'll see in this video, will be linked in the description below. From this point, we'll run one continuous fiber line all the way out to the office. Here we have our access point and a second SFP module that's identical to the one back in the home. With the fiber connected, this device can now generate Wi-Fi for the space. It also has a couple Ethernet ports, so we can connect the lines I ran inside of the walls while I was building the office. So now let's jump to the actual work. First step is digging the trench and installing our conduit. Luckily, this was already done last summer, so I'd be ready to pull the fiber as soon as I finished building the interior of our new office. If you're at all curious about the construction of this project, be sure to check out my other videos dedicated to building the structure, installing the electric, and finishing out the interior. I went with an 1.5 inch conduit for the power, and I have a separate 1-inch conduit run for the fiber. With that already installed, we're going to first pull a string through the conduit. I'm going to get this in place by tying one end up in a plastic bag, and then I'm going to vacuum that line out the other end. Now I can use that string to pull a stronger wire fish through the conduit. Once we have that out to the other side, I can finally attach our fiber and get ready to pull it through. The cable I purchased came with a specialized pulling assembly attached. It's got a clip built in and a little bit of a heavier jacket to help protect the cable from snapping. We'll also use some electrical tape to cover any features that could get caught up on the inside of the conduit. Once we're all the way out to the other side, I'm going to pull all the slack out to that end so I can place the extra cable hidden away in my crawl space. To get into the crawl space, I'm going to drill through the brick using a 1-inch masonry drill bit along with a hammer drill. Then I can mount another LB conduit elbow to cover this hole. Then I'm getting into my crawl space, which isn't too scary since we had it encapsulated a few years back. And then I'm going to finish by getting our cable all the way back to the media closet. Here you can see the media converter with the SFP module and fiber connected. This is now tied into the gateway. And then back out in the office, I have our access point installed and one of the 2 Ethernet lines connected. The second Ethernet line is going to feed my wall-mounted PC, which will be an upcoming project here very soon. But let's run a quick test on the line we do have connected. And there we have it. I think this was totally worth the effort, and I highly recommend adding an extra conduit if you're ever trenching on a project like this. Next on the channel, we're gonna continue to fill out this space. I'm building a work table as well as a new custom laser cutter. We also still have all of the final landscaping for the backyard and plenty of other projects to get to. I make all of these animations using Blender, and if you'd like to see more of them, as well as some behind the scenes content, be sure to check out our Instagram as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.